Welcome to the OG Rivalry Podcast, ladies and gents and otherwise. Is that fair to say?
Let's get started with the podcast.
Gosh, man, I can't turn any corners here. All right.
welcome, welcome,
Um,
welcome all y'all.
welcome all, y'all. That's a great way to bring it all around. So we're going to introduce this podcast. My name is Miles Teddick. I am the Green Bay Packers representation in this rivalry here, and I am joined by Sir Miguel Prado.
That is I am Miguel. I am a Bears fan. Many years going, and I was born in '89, so I've never seen a Super Bowl. I think that we just need to get that out of the way early to not let Miles lay any sort of bear traps throughout the conversation. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get this season, which is actually the 101st year
Yes,
of the rivalry.
101. I mean, that's where you start sometimes, like a class of 101, except this is 101 years into this beautiful thing that we have here that we're calling the OG rivalry.
The OG rivalry, and it is beautiful.
It's
The first thing
gorgeous.
that comes to mind when I hear the word beautiful is some of the alternate helmets that have
Oh,
graced our NFL season this year.
man.
We can get into that, but let's talk about what makes this the OG rivalry in sports.
Well, listen, let's just call a spade here. There's a lot of great sports out there, and there's a lot of great sports teams out there. But man, does anybody go back 101 years with the epic clashes that we have had over and over and over and over again in that just bitter cold Midwest, Green Bay versus Chicago, small town, big town. Man, it has it all. Nobody else
Small
can
town,
touch it. Nobody else can hold a candle to it.
absolutely. Small town, big town, no dome,
No domes. We play
no
like
domes.
men in this game. If it's cold, it's cold. If it's hot, it's hot. If it's wet, it's wet. We're going to play some football. And that's what it's
Yes,
all about.
yes. And not a lot of love lost between the fan bases.
Zero love lost.
Zero.
Absolute zero.
Zero.
Zero
So
love lost.
greatest, in my biased opinion, the greatest rivalry on the face of the planet. I think we talked about there might be one or two that are more intense out there in the cosmos, but when we're talking planet Earth, it's Bears Packers. There's others that come to mind. Ohio State, Michigan. That's a bitter rivalry. But when we're talking NFL, um, that's where it starts, right? Is Bears Packers.
Absolutely. You got championships galore going all the way back. You got Hall of Famers. You got you got it all. You got all the things you could ask for. Yeah, I get it. College rivalries, that's fine and cute and all that, but talking about grown men beating the absolute crap out of each other because that's what we've got to do here. We've got to settle this dispute between Chicago and Green Bay on an annual basis.
Yeah, and it's been a rivalry that's been black and blue, right? I mean, we're talking defense, we're talking in the trenches, and hard nosed football, and we're also talking about two back to back Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks on the Green Bay side, and not a whole lot to show for it. We're talking Favre getting the ring and A Rod getting a ring, and I mean, Hall of Fame careers, is that enough to satisfy your appetite for two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Miles?
Well, you didn't want me setting bear traps, but I'll certainly set the one that you're asking me to set. Because we were born in the same year, sir, and I've gotten to celebrate a Super Bowl win twice. I remember both of them too. Well, the second kind of, but anyway, yeah. So I mean, it's not Tom Brady, but he made a deal with the devil. He's got to deal with that later on. I think what we have gotten as Green Bay Packer fans from the early 90s until now has been all a fan can ask for. And I'll be honest, I've gotten validation of that by being so close to you Bears fans and then some of these Cowboys fans. You guys have been through some complete hell in the last 30 years. I'll say that.
I don't
The
know what you're
Cowboys.
talking about. My first Bears game, I got to watch Shane Matthew carve up the Cleveland Browns. So I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wait, well, let me remind you. So, one of those Super Bowls that I got to enjoy the win. Do you know? Do you know where the NFC Championship was played? You know who the
In
Packers
in
went through to get to that
in
Super Bowl?
'96,
In 2010.
in
I guess it would have been
2010. Oh,
2011
geez.
technically.
All right.
Who
Yeah.
did?
Well,
Where
we're
did they
we're
go?
we're talking about uh, Jay Cutler era here, and there's not a whole lot I can say about the Jay Cutler era, other than it was what led to one of the toughest stretches of head coach hires, and it's
Pretty
been tough.
bad, man.
It's been tough. I think what we're getting at is it's been tough being a Bears fan.
Tough sledding,
Um,
dude.
it's been tough, but I think the future's bright. I think the future's bright, and I think we owe it here just to start off talking a little bit about why we are the fans of the teams that we are, because I don't think anybody in their right mind would just wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to be a Bears fan.
No,
No, no.
no.
Although I am excited for the kids. I'm excited for the kids that are growing up right now in Chicagoland. They have a very exciting quarterback. Some hope for the future.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
cannot argue with that. Justin Fields is a stand-up dude. Um, Looks like the real deal. It's too bad he's the only NFL caliber player on the roster. That is an issue. But one day he's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. But if that's what we're holding on to, and we digress because we're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
talk
yeah,
all about Justin
yeah.
Fields and how much you hate that wide receiver room at Hallis Hall here during training camp. Um, but about that fandom story, I think
Of
you got a pretty
course.
cool one. I think you got a cool one.
Of course. No, no. I guess it's fair to introduce that at the top. No, my grandfather in the Packers Hall of Fame. He played linebacker in the 50s. Daryl Bull Teddick. They called him Little Bull because he just hit the crap out of people. And I don't have any way of verifying this, but I was told over and over again by him and his buddies and all that he actually had quite a bit of interceptions, but they didn't keep that stat back then.
Okay.
So who knows? But he is in the Packer Hall of Fame. He went to a couple of Pro Bowls in a short career. So really neat to be born into that and get, when I was growing up, I got to stand inside the fence at training camp, which is kind of cool. Been to a ton of Packer games at Lambeau, which I know so many Packer fans would just kill to go to one. So very, very fortunate to have gotten the fandom journey that I have gotten, and I try to, you know, do that justice every season. And now I think that this podcast is part of that, right? I mean, if there is anything that is as rooted in the Packers as anything else, it's this rivalry, right? Like it's Vince Lombardi, Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and this rivalry. And I say that because that's how I grew up. Now we have Aaron Rodgers to add to that, but his journey's not done. So we'll wait. We'll see if we can get a three-peat MVP with a nice cherry on top of an additional Lombardi added to the hallowed grounds that are Lambeau Field. We'll see. But yeah, so no, that's my fandom journey. Love it. We'll be a Packer fan for life. Even if we do ever have dark days ahead, which we probably won't because we're the best organization in the history of sports. But anyway, do you have any notes about your fandom as a Chicago Bears fan? I mean, you grew up near Chicago. That certainly
Yep.
played a role in it, right?
Big role. Before I hop into my own personal story, was that a Super Bowl prediction? Yeah. Okay.
100%.
Just wanted to make
100%.
sure we're on the same page. All
Yep.
right. Super Bowl
Absolutely.
prediction. Early episode one. My fan journey is special. I get pumped up hearing about your grandpa playing his playing days and in the Packer Hall of Fame. I mean that's special. For me, I don't have quite the personal family connections to the Bears, but I would say it runs blood deep.
Oh yeah.
My family, being in the Chicagoland area, what I came into was bear blue and orange blood, and that's very early in my baby pictures. I'm wearing Walter Payton kangaroo shoes, and wearing Bears t-shirts, and there's a picture where I'm putting at a little putt putt, and I got some bear sneakers on and some bear laces on. I could barely hold the putter. I think I'm holding the putter backwards actually. So it's just a quick nod to how it all started. But I fell in love with the sport of football, I believe, before I fell in love with the Bears. And so the Bears were always there, right? So the Bears clothing, the Bears shirts and T-shirts and foam fingers and everything. But when I could understand the sport itself, right around when I was 6 or 7, started getting into watching the games and actually having the attention span to pay attention, and then understanding who's playing, and idolizing the ball players, and that's when I really fell in love with football, and then it was just an addiction. It was I couldn't get
Oh
enough
yeah.
of Chicago Bear football, and so that to me was when I started getting really. And this is before the internet, right? So this is just you're it's all passed down word of mouth of
Oh yeah.
how special Walter Payton was, and fridge and the refrigerator Perry, how special he was. And so just having to watch videos on my own of seeing this, and
Right.
fall in love with those Super Bowl guys, Super Bowl shuffle. And then I remember, believe it or not, one time up in Wisconsin Dells, and I think this is funny because that's where I found this T-shirt. Walk into a T-shirt shop, and there's a T-shirt right away. It says, "Friends don't let friends be Packer fans," and it was a navy shirt with orange letters, and so I started really understanding. All right, there's something serious here. You're not supposed to like these guys,
Right.
and it's just the rivalry began very early on. Of understanding just how important it was, and then watching twice a year, those divisional games, and just knowing that, man, it was a rivalry with deep roots. That's a
Yeah.
little bit of my childhood connection to the Bears. Getting older, had a good opportunity to see them play in different stadiums. And one of them that stands out, not quite the Bears, but the Pro Bowl at Aloha Stadium, got to see. It was when Alshon Jeffrey, he made the Pro Bowl. So got to see him, just seeing a Bear player out there on the
That's
field.
pretty cool.
Uh, Pretty cool, yeah. But yeah, got to see them at the old Soldier Field. Got to see them play at Memorial Stadium at U of I in Champaign. That when they were building the spaceship, and then got to see them in the new Soldier Field, and then since then have been kind of a Rolling Stone. So check them out at Mile High, AT&T Stadium, SoFi Stadium, Allegiant, I believe it was in Houston. And so these getting to travel and check out the fan base at these away games has been pretty cool.
Hell yeah, man. I just typed into our notes here. We should have a future segment about stadium experiences. Because like I said, I've been at Lambeau several times. But I've got a few different stadium experiences. One in particular from the 2011 season when the Packers only lost one game at Arrowhead Stadium. And guess what? Dickhead was there. I just like I felt like, man, if I just hadn't gone, if I had, of course, there's a superstition, and fans are all superstitious, I think, to some extent. But man, I'm just sitting here thinking, I cheated on Lambo. That's why they lost. Why did I?
Oh
I
no,
anyway,
no! You
anyway.
can go to any stadium. Lambeau's on the bucket list. It has to be. It's a
Oh man,
cathedral of football.
it's everything, and I mean, obviously, I'm biased, but even when I've sat next to Bears fans, Vikings fans, it's everything that people, you know, talk it up to be, and probably more. I mean, and now they've kind of turned it into a bit of a commercialized Wonderland or Packerland or whatever. I think it's still pretty neat. It has lost a little bit of the small town charm that it had. When I'm going there and meeting my dad with his buddies from high school, and we're, four houses down from Lambeau in a backyard, playing beer pong. And you got Lambeau here. You're just in a regular backyard, surrounded by cars. Everybody's grilling up and doing their thing, and then you're gonna go into the game. Everybody cracks their road beer. You got to finish one while you're walking in, and you get in there, and you sit on your bleacher seat. Like it just the whole experience was just you know wholesome football, right? And we talk
It's
about the
all
good
it's
and
all bleacher seats.
yeah. Well,
Oh,
they have they've got box seats, and I think they've got some actual chair seating now. But it's the bowl. Most of it is bleacher seats. So yeah, man, you get that
cool.
feeling because everybody packs in, dude, especially when it's cold.
Yeah.
You just wedge yourself in together, and everybody's gonna stand up at the same time. Everybody's gonna sit down at the same time. But it's just so much fun, and nobody's you hear about these stories from other stadiums, and I'm here in the DFW area, so I certainly always have an ear to the ground for these Dallas Cowgirls and all their shenanigans. Um, but you got these stories of fans getting in fights and all this, beating the crap out of each other, all that stuff, and it just doesn't happen at Lambeau, man. People are having way too much fun, even when the Packers lose. It's almost like Packers fans are so jaded they're willing to talk shit with the other fans. Like, yeah, you know what? We did play like crap tonight. We should have played better. Fire all of them. We're ready to just agree with everybody who's talking shit. So
Yeah.
it's just the experience is a very whole one that I think is no doubt still intact with all the changes that they've made in that area. But it got to be on the bucket list.
Oh, it's
Whoever
on the
you're a
bucket
fan
list.
of, go to a game at Lambeau.
Yeah. I think I should expand on the bucket list. I think seeing Robbie Gold hit a game winner in Lambeau, that's on the bucket list.
Good
That's
lord.
that's on the bucket list.
Boy, you better hurry. I don't know if there's going to be another one of those.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah,
Might be too
this
late.
might be his goodbye tour here.
He's pretty old, isn't he? Isn't he? He's up there with Mason Crosby. They're both pushing that old kicker role now.
Yeah, he's got ice water running through his veins. I'd say, just last year, he's in probably the best shape of his life to hit a kick like that, in my opinion.
I can't deny what he did. He won the game, right?
Yeah.
He went out and did his job. Good for him.
So I
But
that was almost, and I don't want to speak for all Bear fans, but that was almost like a
a
vindication,
slight bear victory.
a vindication of just sweet deliverance in the rain, in the snow, especially with we all know what happened. We won't shy away from it. We'll lean right into it. Double doink, 2018.
Got to
We
do
saw
it.
that thing, and God bless technology. Saw that sucker on loop for forever. Holy
Zoom in,
smokes,
man.
zoomed in on it.
Boom, boom. Yep.
And not really feeling like we were ever gonna get over that. I think that was the official close to that chapter for a faction of some Bear fans. And I think one major reason is Robbie Gould is a Bears legend. He's a Bears Super Bowl player. That was his, I believe, his rookie
True.
season. He came in and he spent a lot of beloved years as the Bears kicker with great defensive teams, and then for him to be the one to send off the Packers in the playoffs in the last second fashion, game winning kick like that. That I feel like was where we exercised those Cody Parkey demons.
Hey, man, whatever helps you sleep at night.
It helped. Slept like a baby.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. I'm gonna sleep like a baby whenever they bring home that next Lombardi.
All
Oh
right.
boy, oof, hit right
What's
here.
Vegas? What's Vegas have to say about that?
I don't care what Vegas has to
Oh, here we
say.
go.
What the
Here
hell
we
do they
go.
know about football? They change their mind every week.
Yeah, we're 20 minutes in. Welcome to
All
episode
right.
1. Welcome to episode 1, baby.
Hey, but let's set the tone for the whole podcast, right?
Okay, let's do it.
There's all sorts of Packers podcasts out there, Bears podcasts out there. I think it's important to lean into the fact that we are a house divided, so to speak, right? We're gonna have one podcast, two burning passionate fans, and just leaning into that
Hate.
division, man. Yeah, that burning hatred, respectful hatred, which we'll get into, because there is a
Respectfully.
difference. There is certainly a disrespectful hatred that exists for another ugly purple team in the north. But it's one of those things. I think that in today's day and age, where almost everybody disagrees on something, we should do a service and show people how to lean into those disagreements in a constructive and fun way. And let's embrace some of these differences, man. Unless you're a Cowboys or Vikings fan, then in which case I don't care if you ever listen to this again,
Yeah, stop listening.
because we're gonna destroy you.
Well, I think we touched on this with Minnesota. It's almost like that annoying, harmless little brother, right? That's just like nonstop running its mouth, and but it's like, are they really there? It's just like, who cares? Who cares? I mean, no hard feelings, right? It's just one of those. It's like, we don't think about you.
It's the Don Draper meme, right? It's like, I feel sorry for you. I don't think about you at all.
So, I mean, what is the perspective? Because I know that there's obviously a rivalry, divisional, right? And is who does Minnesota say is their number one rival? It's Green Bay, right?
I think it's got to be Green Bay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And Green Bay doesn't even think about them.
I mean, we acknowledge that there is a rivalry there just because the state of Minnesota is kind of annoying in itself. The Gophers, the ugly ass team over there too. But it's kind of like a Texas Oklahoma thing, right? Where
Yeah,
you just sort of you just like from Texas, we're looking up there at Oklahoma. And it's like, what the hell is going on up there, man? I don't even know what they're doing up there. Um, so I think there's a
they're
little bit of a
shoveling.
state, right? Yeah, they're shoveling. They're doing a bunch of weird stuff. They're playing in domes, man. I mean, who plays in domes? Kids play in domes.
The Arlington Bears will play in a dome.
You know, I hope not. I hope that you know the Bears will man up. This is the OG
Yeah,
rivalry. We play outside.
yeah. We'll play fast on good turf. Smack. I think. I,
We'll
I
have to
think.
have
I
that
think. I think.
segment
I
another
think.
day.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be some. I think there's gonna be some. Someone's gonna get smacked in the mouth this season by that secondary the Bears have, and I think I'm gonna enjoy. I'm gonna enjoy watching it because it's not the
All right.
secondary of years past. They obviously invested very heavily into that secondary in the draft. Everybody thought, okay, new front office, new general manager. We're going wide receiver. We're going to set up this quarterback for success. He goes, swims up current, goes DB in the second round, DB or two DBs in the second round, and that's a statement. You say, I'm going to invest. I'm tired of giving up big plays. I'm tired of giving the offense that open airway. I think that's gone with Brisker, Jaquan Brisker
Okay.
at safety. He plays like Amos, so
Okay.
that's when Eddie Jackson had his best ball takeaway season was when he played next to a strong box safety. And so I feel like that with Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, I believe, is a very talented player.
Good pick.
I think he's getting a bit of an awakening with the Eberflus style, right, which shocks the system a little bit after there's no accountability with a Matt Nagy system. So I think the secondary is going to be a dark horse for getting a little bit of nastiness back into that defense.
So lay down. Who's your starters? Your top two corners, your top two safeties. Who are
It's
your
going to be
top
Jalen
four?
Jalen Johnson. I think he covers number one usually, so I don't know if they're going to just go and play parts of the field or if he's still going to play on an assignment. But starting defense in a 4-3 will probably be Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, keeping in mind, right, no injuries in training camp, nothing
Sure.
goes wrong,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then Eddie Jackson and Jaquan Brisker should be rounding out that secondary. Then you got good
Okay.
nickel. You got good nickel depth as well on the roster. So I just think the secondary is something that's been very, very slept on. I think there's been
Okay.
other training camp headlines that kind of take the headlines, right? But I kind of view not hearing too much about that secondary as a good thing. They're making plays, they're getting some interceptions, and they're staying nice rock steady.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you can keep pressure off, that's good. Good for learning. Eventually, the pressure comes on when you got to face some real talent. You know, they may not be challenged in training camp per se,
Well, I
but we'll
mean,
see.
the wide receiver rooms they're very similar right now for the Bears and the Packers.
Yes, but I would argue that the secondary rooms are not.
Yeah.
And so, on the topic of Adrian Amos, that guy, he's top three safety in the league right now for me. He is, and it's intangibles. It's not that he's fast, he hits hard. That guy is a leader, and when you watch the plays that he does make on the field, they are cerebral. That guy is he plays at a different level that is not acknowledged on the stat sheet. I guess that's probably the best way to articulate it. One
Yeah.
of the best safeties in the league, phenomenal leader, just plays like a businessman, dude. He is one of my favorite DBs to watch, and I guess if I can piggyback on your because we're talking about off-season moves, right? We're talking about what we
Yeah.
how we've been doing in the off-season. If I could just kind of give you kind of a compliment from the Packers secondary perspective, I mean, really since Nick Collins, the Packers have been dying for good safety play. And we've had flashes of it here and there, and it was fool's gold every time. And now we've got Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage, which, Savage is a bit of a question mark, but has all the potential in the world. But, and then to boot, after, again, a little bit of a drought and a lot of wasted high draft picks on corners, we've got not just Jair Alexander, who I think is better than Jalen Ramsey, but I'll let everybody rank Jalen Ramsey higher than him. You got Eric Stokes, who held it down really well last year as a rookie without Alexander on the field. So you see where he goes. We'll see where he's going, but his arrow is pointed straight up. And then you've got a nickel cornerback whose aspirations are Defensive Player of the Year and All Pro. Pretty deep, man.
Yeah.
And I believe he had a pick six or maybe two against you guys last year.
Last year's a wash. We gotta
Okay,
just
okay,
we have to just acknowledge that that offensive system is completely gone, and
okay,
there
okay.
wasn't an offensive system.
No, now you've got the offensive system of the guy who just left Green Bay.
Yeah, and it's evident, evident day whatever day what we're like day week 1 in training camp that Justin's footwork mechanics are vastly improved because of Getsy and his quarterback coach.
And Getsy's certainly an offseason move for the Bears, but how much predictability do you think there is there in his system for the defense who just practiced against it?
Yeah.
How many years? What, 2 years?
Why
I think he
would
was there.
I would say if we're taking notes on let's revisit this, here's what the Bears offense will be this year. It's going to be RPO, run heavy offense. They're going to hand the ball off and just wear defenses down. Granted, this is all contingent on the offensive line play, right? And
Right.
who's in the trenches. But the plan is for Justin Fields is to hand the ball off first, and then roll out, get an open space, and then get the ball out quick, right,
Okay.
to his open receiver. That's going to be the offense that they are installing. I think that they're doing that to give Justin a little bit more comfort week in and week out as he continues to develop and grasp the NFL the speed of the game, as well as the defenses themselves. But I would say this is that there was a nice little breakdown video of a drill that they're running with Justin, and it's the same play action rollout
I saw
motion
that.
that Aaron Rodgers is just deadly with. And so we're talking about fans getting pumped up at drill. Just coach him up. Holy smokes. That's all we're asking for. Right?
Yeah.
Like that was so we were deprived of that last year. Justin Fields didn't even take any one reps. He didn't take any first team reps last training camp, which
So
is
can I
negligent.
provide a counter? Can I provide a counter perspective to that? Because I've heard that now. This is kind of fun for me because as a Packers fan on our Twitter, I'm getting some of these pro Bears takes that I haven't necessarily gotten before. And I hear a lot of really, upset Bears fans about how little reps Fields got last year in training camp. And this is just perspective, certainly not anything to say that I know better or anything like that. But a lot of times it's good for a quarterback or any position to be able to learn that way, right? Because and there's certainly an argument for learning on the fly, learning from mistakes that you make and all that. But if you can at least have, like the Andy Dalton, the veteran presence as sort of a lightning rod for the coach's attention, that can relieve some pressure and allow Justin Fields to learn better. Just potential. Now, that also that requires you to have a good teacher, right? So if you have a shitty teacher, it's not going to matter. Case in point, Jeff Fisher destroyed quarterback careers. We all saw what happened in with the Rams with what's his name, Goff. He was terrible with Jeff Fisher. All of a sudden, McVay gets a hold of him, and he can actually make him an NFL quarterback. So I totally understand the perspective of we're just happy to see some development as fans. I think that's a fair thing to be excited about for sure. I mean, you have a talented quarterback there. There's nobody with a sound football mind that can look at Justin Fields and go, guy sucks. Like it's just that's not a
Have you
valid
been on
football
Twitter?
argument. Well, yeah. Well, there's a lot of bots on Twitter, man. A lot of unintelligent things fly around Twitter, man.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, for whatever reason, whether it's Bears hate or Justin Fields hate or just saltiness, it's out there.
Oh yeah.
It's out there, and you hate to see it, but at the same time, it's like that's got to motivate Justin as a competitor. And I saw that he mentioned in an interview that a Super Bowl is a goal of his to be a Super Bowl champion as a Chicago Bear. And that is probably all we need as fans to just run through a brick wall. Because and I will say this is that the training camp reps, especially with the players agreement and players association like contracts and all that, as far as the labor agreement, I understand, just how important each first team rep is when you're talking about going into a season, right? Like I get it. I think that it's not apples to apples with the McVay situation or the Jeff Fisher situation, only because everybody knew that Nagy and Pace were lame ducks. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew it, and I think maybe just out, maybe national media, right? Like I'm talking about every fan in Chicago knew that they were lame in the lame duck season,
Yeah.
right? So it was like if you're rolling Andy Dalton out there for every first rep and you're going to start him week one, you're going to lose your job, right? Like you're going to lose your job. And that's what happened. And that's precisely what happened. I think that's what infuriated fans was that it's like, dude, give it a shot, right? You drafted Justin in the with the 11th pick. Like you got to believe in him, right? And you got to believe that he can save your jobs. And sure enough, it was by chance that Andy Dalton tweaked something rolling out against the Bengals. I think it was week 2 or week 3, and Justin got thrusted into being a professional quarterback with no chemistry, with no timing with his wide receivers, wideouts, tight ends, even handing the ball off, even taking a snap. It's the first time you're taking a snap from your starting center is because your starting quarterback tweaked something rolling out. Like that's unacceptable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right. So you got all the confidence in the world in your boy Justin Fields. You think he can get things going pretty quick here this season. I would like to try what you're smoking, to be honest with you. But I agree he's got a bright future. Um, I will also say that there's some uncertainty on some uncertainty on the offensive side of the ball in Green Bay without Devontae Adams. Um, but I do think that there's a whole lot of people sleeping on number 13 up there, and
Oh, jeez.
we're really going to need to revisit this by the end of the season because I think that there's going to be a lot of receipts to be cashed in. We're going to have to go through all these receipts about the receiver one situation in Green Bay. Um, so yeah,
Well, Aaron's
my
certainly not worried about it.
no, he like he said, Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer, man. What
Yeah,
else is he supposed to say?
yeah.
Um, But to give a quick synopsis, since we're talking off-season moves, 17 moves on, made clear that that's what he wanted, right? He wanted Green Bay to let him go to Oakland, play with his boy, Derek Carr. Your Green Bay, you get what you can for him. I thought that they got a great amount. You also have the big savings and salary cap that affords you some other moves that you otherwise definitely would not have had. Jaron Reed, Sammy Watkins. Um, I think those were the main offseason moves. Obviously, you get the draft picks. But ultimately, y'all are sleeping on Alan Lazard. You're all sleeping on him.
That's why I
You,
said very similar wide receiver rooms because the same could be said about sleeping on Darnell Mooney. And the only part of that equation that is not the same is losing 17. So we lost Allen Robinson, and that's apples to oranges, right? Like no one's saying that Allen Robinson's the best wide receiver in football. A
Right.
lot of people are saying that about Devontae Adams because that's the type of player that he is.
Right.
You lost the best wide out in football, Miles, and you know Aaron Rodgers famously told the Packer fan base to relax, right? RELAX.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm hearing some COPE coming from the Packer side of the ball.
I'm sorry, have you not heard of our latest crush?
Alan
Romeo,
Lazard.
Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? I never actually did that whole play. Yeah, man. Have you ever heard of my boy, Romeo Dobbs? He is
Gosh.
about to take over, sir. We got I got my guy Alan Lazard,
Yep.
bona fide receiver one. Get out of here. He's gonna put it on the field. I got the most trusted receiver for Aaron Rodgers in the entire league in Randall Cobb. He's
Yep.
running the show in that receiver room from a kind of a coaching perspective, if you will. I got Sammy Watkins, who in 2014, if any Packers fan could have Sammy Watkins over Devontae Adams, 100% of them would have. So let's not pretend he's just some scrub.
That was
And
in the
then,
Obama administration. Come on now. It's 2020. We're going into
okay, so are you
2022,
saying
22.
Devontae Adams, who came out of the same class, is too old to be the best receiver in football? Is that what you're saying
No,
to me?
no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you're positioning that any Packer fan on the face of the earth would have rather had Sammy Watkins in 2014. I mean,
I'm speaking to pedigree, right? Fourth
okay,
overall
okay,
pick in the 2014 draft, right? He's
yeah.
he's a he's a football player, you know. And then you've got Romeo and Christian. Boy, we got some toys to play with, man. You've got a lot of weapons for Aaron Rodgers to use. And since we're talking about Cope, let me complete my synopsis here with I've seen what Aaron Rodgers does when Devontae Adams doesn't play, and it's not bad. It was kind of fun to watch. Now, don't get me wrong, every Packers fan and down to players and Aaron Rodgers himself wanted 17 on the field. Best receiver in football, as we've acknowledged. But the back to back MVP knows how to play with other players. He was down his top three guys on a short week going into Arizona last year, and they won that game against an undefeated Arizona team that everybody had at the top of the league at that moment in time.
Ooh,
So
Arizona.
just throwing that out there. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of heat down there in Arizona right now,
Well,
huh?
before we get to that heat, down in the desert, yeah, it sounds like on the grieving process, you're past acceptance. You're bargaining. No, no, no. You bargained.
Oh yeah.
You telling me in 2014, Sammy Watkins was the bee's knees. You've moved on to acceptance. It's just to me, as someone that cares about you, I'm happy that you are dealing with losing Devonte Adams as gracefully as you are. Yeah, let's get into Arizona.
I'm just
We could.
glad that we have all of this on video and on record so that at the end of this season, when everybody's looking at the Packers receiver room with fear, we can come back to this and go, hey, you remember? You talked about Cope, right?
Yeah,
There's my
yeah.
Cope. We'll
It's
talk
you
about
got
it.
receipts. You got receipts. So I will say Lazard. He can step into a number one role, but the question mark is there, right? Like the question mark is there. You say bona fide, that means that it's signed, sealed, delivered. He's a number one receiver. We don't know that. There's a question mark there, right?
I've
Christian
seen the man play
Watson.
football.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's a that's a slippery slope. I think is we we watch all of them play
That's
ball,
fair.
right? But I'll say this: I will give you that Lazard's going to be a baller playmaker, right? Just because Aaron Rodgers needs to throw the football to somebody. Well, is Alan Lazard a bona fide one receiver on the Chicago Bears? Is he a bona fide one on any other team in the league, right? If he's playing, behind other wideout talent, that's where those question marks come in, right? And then the rest of the room is, again, perspective, and we're gonna give that neutral, right, perspective. I'm not gonna bring Bears
Yeah,
saltiness into this. It's just that room. I don't think is keeping any D coordinators up at night, right? You
that's
got
okay.
Cobb. He's a fan favorite, right? He's a fan favorite.
He's a Rogers favorite.
He's a Rodgers favorite, but
He's got a couple
how many games is
particular
he going to play?
daggers in the hearts of Chicago Bears, sir.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're looking at it neutrally, right, emotion aside, how many games is Randall Cobb going to? Is he going to play a full season?
So Randall Cobb is Donald Driver 2.0, in my
Okay.
opinion. Fan favorite, right? Great history with the quarterback. Toby Keith once saying, "I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good as once as I ever was." That is Randall Cobb, man. When you need
Okay.
a clutch first down, that man is going to get it for you, and he is going to do some crazy things to make that happen. Um, but that's all he has to be. As we mentioned, there's a lot of bodies in that room right now. There's no one Devonte Adams, but the collection of bodies is is fun in my opinion as a fan.
Yeah.
And when you have someone like Randall Cobb who can sit in the film room with these young guys and talk about how here's how Aaron would have it. Here's how what you should do. Here's what he's looking for. He can speak to exactly what the quarterback is thinking. That's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And so I'm one that I'm always looking
I
at the
agree.
chemistry. I'm always looking at what's going on in the locker room, what's going on in the practice field. I think those things manifest what happens on game day more so than the Madden ratings and the things that we like to talk about. But anyway, I would equate my feelings about the Packers receiver room to your feelings about the Bears secondary,
Secondary
because
city, baby.
I would say that the Bears secondary is not, haunting Aaron Rodgers' dreams right now. I believe he owns
Absolutely.
you, is what his words were, and he probably
Yeah.
still feels that way.
That's a major reason why I believe the Bears drafted the way they did, were because of those comments
Fair
of
enough.
I own you. And I think they knew that they have a generational quarterback that they can get weapons for. I also think that they knew that they had absolutely no answer for Aaron Rodgers, right? And so I think that this is what I'm saying. I'm saying that these young guys that are making up this new secondary are there to develop into keeping Aaron Rodgers up at night. And so I think this is the start of it. What I do think we should do is definitely revisit this wide receiver watch
We got to keep it
2022.
going.
Yeah,
Got to
yeah,
keep it
it's
going.
good. It's good.
Well, so then let's look out. Let's look out and beyond. Obviously, one of the fun things that has been flying around the sports media has been Kyler Murray and his contract. And boy, did Arizona get themselves in trouble or what? Like,
Yeah.
who? First of all, let me give you this question. This serve it up to you this way. Who's more to blame in this situation?
My goodness. It's gotta be it's got to be the front. Whoever drafted the black and white and let that clause get in there. Well, it had to come from somebody wanting that clause in there, right? Which makes you
Right.
question, right, as an NFL fan, why? Why did that clause get into that contract? 4 hours a week equates to what, 35 minutes a day of film study?
Should be a given.
You should be doing this,
He's doing that. You,
right? You
you
should
got
be
to be doing
doing
that.
this. So what I would equate, what I would bring in here for comparison is the Pelicans, the New Orleans Pelicans. They put a clause in Zion's contract for his weight. So there's a guarantee in his contract that's voided if he comes into camp or he comes in at any point over, I believe, I don't, this isn't gospel, but I believe it's like 265, right? Like somewhere around there, which I personally still think like that's like, holy smokes, like we have to write that into the contract? like
I mean,
come up and show up in shape. Like holy smoke! So
well,
how?
here's my take on this, and I totally agree. I think that if you're the front office and you feel the need to have that in the contract, man, you better be on the same level with the player at that point, and the player signed the contract. So I
He
mean,
signed it.
that's where I'm kind of looking at him too, going, if this wasn't what it looks like, y'all should have done a better job of figuring out whatever this is. But the reason that I say all of that is you have Michael Vick who's come out and said, "Man, I didn't study. I just balled out." And it worked. Like nobody's looking at him going, "Loser." I mean, certainly, not the greatest character the NFL's ever had, but as far as just talent, like what he did on the field and how, I mean, man, the guy was he was changing the league. To say that he was owning the league is kind of an understatement. Like he he was the first one to beat the Packers in Lambeau in the playoffs. I don't know if anybody still realizes. I remember my little Packer soul just crumbling to pieces, thinking the impossible. The Titanic just sunk, man. Like the Packers don't lose in Lambeau in the playoffs. Mike Vick beat them in Lambeau in the playoffs. He was a cheat code in Madden. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the guy was 99 overall. He didn't study. He didn't know how to read defenses. So I don't like. I hear how like Kyler Murray has like a chip on his shoulder about it, and how Mahomes came out and had comments about it, and I think that there's definitely some fair criticism from their part as far as like they're having to prove themselves as black quarterbacks. But I do think in this case, it's kind of like you're balling out, man. Like people from the outside can't tell the difference between you just going out there and winging it and you studying, the film 4 hours, 5 hours a day or whatever the absurd amount is, and knowing your playbook and reading defenses, because we've all been duped. We've all seen it where it's like, shit, dude, Mike Vick is destroying the league. Well, he's doing it without studying. Or, even the plays like Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs against the Cowboys. He drew up a play, told Jared Cook, just go this way, go over here, and he hits him on the sidelines. I mean, that stuff happens all the time. Mahomes, he's always improvising shit. These
Yeah.
things happen, and from the outside looking in, we can't tell the difference. So I think there is this question of like, dang, man, the Cardinals had to say that in your contract? You must not study. Not because you're a black quarterback, but because we've seen these baller quarterbacks who are owning the league without studying. It's
Yeah.
happened.
I want to take a step back because I think we still are at that point where it's this story kind of stinks, right? And if it
It
stinks,
does
it's usually
stink.
it's
Yeah,
usually dirty laundry,
it does
right? So it's
stink.
kind of one of those of like, what's going on in Arizona? You can ask that question about the contract. You can ask that question about the clause. You can ask that question about the fallout from that clause. And then all of this without that clause, we're not having the conversation about Mahomes and Lamar
Right.
Jackson and work ethic and scheming and game planning. I mean, if you have God-given talent, where perfect example, AI, we're talking about practice, right? We're talking
Right.
about practice. We're not talking about the game. We're talking about practice,
Right.
right? So they had to write in your contract that they want you to game plan and study for 4 hours a week. That's probably a pain point in his quarterback, in him being a franchise quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals organization, is they probably know they have a generational talent. Nobody's questioning that, but they're probably saying like, "Hey, dude, this guy's not putting in the game studying, not the work ethic, right?" I don't think it's a work ethic thing. I think there might have been like a onesie or twosie hiccup in the game or in a game week going into the game where the coach was frustrated and he was like, "Dude, I need my guy to put some more game time planning in."
Oh, sure.
And where I say like this story stinks is because this story should never came out. right?
No,
Like
I
this
agree.
story should have never made the headlines. And they have the same agent. I think that Kyler Murray and Cliffsbury have the same agent,
Oh, that
which
does stink.
makes you think that it stinks
It
a little
stinks.
bit. Um,
Well, and the other thing about that is to your point, it stinks. So it's like what is going on? Well, there was issues before this, right? Like, I mean, there was kind of he had a bit of a posture like he wasn't sure he wanted to sign with Arizona. You know, I mean,
he didn't he take down all his
yeah,
Arizona Cardinal
yeah. So there
photos
was
on
already
Instagram.
kind of like this like unsettled nature between Arizona and Kyler Murray, and it almost felt like the contract was kind of a desperation on their part to say, hey,
Yeah,
you know, don't leave us, please, please don't leave us. I think it was Andrew Brandt, I believe, and he had the point of like if you are trying to solve problems with money, you're probably not going to do a very good job of that, right? You're probably going to be disappointed, and we've seen a lot of examples of that. I think in NFL history, with guys signing massive free agent contracts or big extensions, and then they just disappear.
yeah,
And you also have the other side of that coin where then you get organizations who are hesitant to pay players who have earned those dollars, and they let them pack, kind of like Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers. It's like,
yeah.
man, you've got this back and forth of organizations not wanting to get bit by players, players not wanting to get bit by organizations. And so, yeah, it does have a stinky kind of a taste to it here because it seems like there was already issues before and they were maybe trying to address them the wrong way.
Yeah. So hot take, right? He signed it,
He did.
right? You don't sign something that you don't agree with,
No.
right? And so you don't sign something that goes against your own intuition as a businessman, as a football player, NFL player, pro athlete. You're not gonna sign something and it just be like, what is this? This is bullshit. Like,
No.
you have an agent, you have attorneys, you have a team that surrounds you that's going page by page. So at some point with this contract, as they're reviewing it, as they're redlining this contract, Kyler Murray, it's brought to his attention that the Arizona Cardinals want him to put more time into game film. And he's like, that's fair. I'll sign that clause.
Right. And see, and we hear, again, if you're a fan, you pay attention. Every year there's contract disputes. And every year, you eventually kind of, as a fan, as a media, we kind of get into the crux of it. What is it? Is it a per year thing? Is it a total guaranteed thing? But there's always like a crux of the dispute. He signed the contract. And there was not really a whole lot of back and forth. It just kind of like came out. All right, hey, Kyler Murray signed a big extension. Cool.
But
Oh
it's
wait,
gone.
wait. What do you mean?
They got rid of the clause.
Oh well, right. They got rid of the clause, but again, for in the first place, like he agreed to it. They reviewed it. They looked at it and like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it. Why not address that then? Why not like, hey, why is this clause in here? I'm obviously studying enough. I mean, and we did hear the Cardinals say when they pulled the clause that this was perceived in an unintended way. But my question is, how was it intended? Like, what was the intent?
Yeah, was the intention to not have him put in 4 hours of game prep?
Yeah.
Like what is that's how that to me, they're a soup sandwich. I attribute this all, and this will be my last take here. This is all due to that forsaken, cursed image that the Arizona Cardinal social media team tweeted out after the Bears game last season, where they turned our beloved Bean at the Millennium, at Millennium Park, our beloved Bean,
Oh
and
no.
they absolutely mistreated the bean and elongated it into an L. And so
Oh,
there's a cursed image out there of this L
ouch.
bean, and I think that this is an effect. This is a cause and
Like a
effect.
bad karma kind of thing.
Oh, and it's not one of those like, oh, it's settled. No, this cursed image will haunt them.
It's gonna go deep.
It's gonna go deep. It'll haunt them, and it'll haunt them for many, many, many seasons to come. I think until there's retribution. I think until there's something that they acknowledge as a social media team, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have done this, or maybe they play again and the Bears win, and they tweet something out. But until that happens, unfortunately, the Arizona Cardinals team is cursed.
Hey man, I'm not gonna mess with a Chicago guy and his curses. Y'all go hard in the paint on the curses in
Billy
Chicago.
Goat, Billy Goat.
No, I wonder though. Arizona doesn't seem to have anything that they hold sacred like the way Chicago holds that bean.
Yeah,
Like that bean, I never really understood it until I lived in Chicago for those couple of years, and people would come and visit. It's like, well, I guess we got to go to the bean. You got to do the selfie at the bean. Everybody's got to see the bean,
I don't.
and it's just a thing, dude.
Yeah, I don't think that Chicagoans. I don't think the bean holds like a special place in our heart. I think
It's
it's
a
it's
sacred
more like
place, man.
no, no, no. It's a running joke. It's one of those that like it grows on you. It's just like, oh, what's this? It's the cloud or whatever they call it, and it's nice. You see it, but it's the fact that the Arizona Cardinals had the audacity to go and fuck with the bean. That's where the curse comes from. Because the bean is it doesn't run deep in Chicago. Like we're not running around, like don't fuck with the
Defending the
bean. It's just the
bean.
fact that they had the audacity to do that. So I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg of this curse. Stay tuned. We'll revisit this as well.
Yeah, we're gonna
But
have a revisit segment at the end of the season.
Oh, we will. But you know what? I do wish Kyler Murray all of the success in the world. I hope he crushes it. I hope that the clause is water under the bridge. It doesn't follow him because I think that it is not fair for his work ethic to be questioned because before that clause, no one was talking about Kyler Murray's work ethic, which I think they shot themselves in the foot there. But other exciting little nuggets of information going around the league besides the Kyler contract, and that's we got a new landing place for Julio Jones.
Oh, he didn't retire. I thought he retired.
He retired.
I thought he retired. Isn't he living in Florida now?
You're
That's where
killing me,
people go when they
Smalls.
retire, right?
You're killing me, Smalls. Oh man, he don't ask him that. Don't ask him that because he's got a chip on his shoulder, man.
I bet he does, man. It'll probably last him about 2 or 3 games, and then another hip will give out. He'll have to have surgery on it, and he'll have his walker with him on the Florida beaches and all that. But I'm sure he'll enjoy retirement.
Oh man, well, retirement for Tom Brady has been a Super Bowl run with that retirement home that they call the Bucks down there.
I mean, he retired too. I don't understand. I guess it is a retirement home, or like the maybe the Bucks will go to like a retirement league. Is that because the NBA is doing that now, right? Like they have the big three and some of these old guy leagues. They're still balling out. Maybe that's what Tom Brady's trying to do.
Well, let's since we're on the retirement segment here, he technically had his retirement spoiled, right? Tom Brady is
By
he
his
back?
own poor plan. Yeah.
Is he back on a revenge tour? Is that what this is?
Re- Revenge against who? He screwed up his own little maniacal plan to try to like take over the Miami Dolphins down there in Florida. I'm telling you, man, he's got some weird
What's
retirement
going on
scheme
in
going on
Florida?
down there. I don't know.
Well,
Ask
they are
Ron
currently
DeSantis. Maybe
Super
he
Bowl
knows.
favorites. So this retirement
Well, how did
community,
that happen? How did
they
that
have some
happen?
good bocce ball down there because how are you Super Bowl favorites?
They can't be Super Bowl favorites. I disagree with that. You got to make the Rams your Super Bowl favorite. They're the
Well, you know
defending
what?
champs.
That's the Tom Brady effect, man. I don't know if that offense. I did see Leonard Fournette showed up to camp. He was a little bit over where they wanted him as far as weight. Um,
Well, hang on. Before we just brush over the Brady effect here, because I think that this is something that when we go back and analyze his career, we'll all have to collectively acknowledge. The guy has been great at playing with top 10 defenses.
oh
Okay.
Jesus!
He had statistically his best season or one of them last year, and they didn't go to the Super Bowl. They didn't go to the NFC Championship. All right. These guys, Tom Brady, he's been great at playing with great defenses. That's what he's been great at. I'll leave it
Oh
at
my
that.
God! We're gonna need to stop recording. I don't know if we somehow attract one lonely New England fan soul or a Tom Brady fan out there in the abyss that is the internet.
I've got one in my network who might come after me for that, so it's okay.
Golly, well, I just want to disassociate myself from that take. I,
All my takes are my own.
yeah, my takes are my own. What Miles says does not reflect me in any way. I think Tom Brady's the GOAT.
My dog just walked out. He apparently didn't like that take
No,
either.
what are
He
you
got
doing?
he has been with us the whole night, and he's like, "No, I'm leaving on that one, man. I
The
can't handle
Brady
that."
effect. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? There was before he joined forces with Bruce Arians down there in Tampa Bay. I think there was a small moment of hope that he would choose the Chicago Bears,
Oh man.
but that quickly was a
He
pipe
wanted to
dream.
retire, man. He's going to Florida. That was
Yeah,
and listen, he pulled the ultimate Tom Brady move. He moved to a place that matches his initials, man. He's TB living in TB. That is like the ultimate branding move. And he's the old guy going to Florida. He's getting ready to retire. Everything he's done is totally on brand,
it's on
including the
brand.
fact that they had a top 10 defense waiting for him there. I mean, everything was right on brand for him.
That might be the Tom Brady effect, though, is when you know you have Tom Brady under center, you're going to invest heavily on making a Super Bowl run. Does that make sense? Like it's not here's a top 10 defense and Tom Brady just happens to be the quarterback of this team. It's we're building a Super Bowl team. And I think that when you have up there in New England, Bill Belichick, I mean, he knew year in and year out that they were going to put a machine out on that field that was going to go deep and make a deep playoff run. Right? And what do you need to win championships? You need a defense,
Yeah.
hands down. And you're in New England. You're not in Miami. You can't just be airing it out. And yet he was still airing it out, you know. And so I think that that is just every once in a while there's generational, we say generational talent, you know, we throw that term around here and there. There's the Wayne Gretzky's, there's the Michael Jordans, there's the Tom Brady's, and they're just hardwired to crush your soul and win championships. That's all they do.
Absolutely. And I can't let my trash talk be mistaken. I respect what Tom Brady has done. What his career, what he's done with his career is we've all got to step back and appreciate the fact that we got to live it and watch it. I mean, shoot. When he started playing football, I was in 3rd grade.
Don't backtrack.
Isn't
Don't
that
walk it
wild?
back. Don't walk back that horrible take you had.
No, 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 no.
You
I'll
gotta.
go back. I'll back myself right back into it and tell you that he is not one of the greatest throwers of the football of all time. But no, no, no. Now listen. Now listen. He's
Oh
not.
jeez.
He's
Oh
not.
jeez. So now we're taking into consideration who throws a pretty ball.
No. There's a
Who
difference.
who? So a football
There's a
thrower.
difference. A
Okay,
thrower of the
so
football. He does
thrower
not
of
have
the
the
football.
greatest arm talent in the history of the league. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say there. But
Yeah.
that is not what makes a great quarterback, right? And
Jay
you've seen
Cutler.
it. I was just about to go. You've seen it firsthand. Dude has supreme arm talent, elite arm talent, not the greatest quarterback, right? And I think that a lot of that comes down into decision making, which I will then go back to giving Tom Brady credit for being one of the greatest decision makers with the football in his hand of all time. And that, I think, is also where Aaron Rodgers is, right? He is one of the greatest decision makers with the football in his hand. And when you can be an excellent decision maker and an elite thrower of the football, that's where you have, the combination. You end up with these Hall of Fame quarterbacks. But, but yeah. So, I don't. I'm not as
So
much of
are
like
you
a
saying he doesn't
believer
have
in
that
the.
combination?
He's not the greatest combination of it. No,
Oh
no,
my goodness.
absolutely not.
We're
No.
gonna need we're gonna need another segment of the
We'll
quarterback
keep going with
position just
that.
in general.
I will die on
In
that
in
hill.
in general. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But
Tom
hey,
Brady.
let's not. I think that we got to keep ourselves respectful of the time here. Let's see where we can go. Uh, let's see what he does here in his year 50 or whatever year he's in, because that is also elite endurance, and that's got to factor into the whole evaluation. But one other thing that is going to have to be an ongoing segment, I think, for us as we do this podcast is, yeah, just weekly. How bad are the Cowboys? You know,
They hate us because they ain't us. They hate us because they ain't us.
well, I mean, they hired some knockoff NFC North coaches. They tend to do that. Um, you got McCarthy in there hanging in, and I wonder if any of the fans even want him, like literally any of them. I don't know that any of them want him there. And this is only year 3.
You're fighting
Uh,
back a laugh. I
I
can see
am.
it. I can
I
see it.
am.
Your lip was trembling when you were getting McCarthy out, like you were ready to crack up laughing.
Well, let's zoom out for a second. We've got a beautiful history of
Let's
behavior
zoom it
here
out.
that we can analyze, right? So let's go back to when Jason Garrett sabotaged his way into the head coaching role of the Cowboys. He's sitting there coaching under Wade Phillips, and in 20, I think it was 2010, Jason Garrett just supposed to be a budding offensive mind of the league. I remember all of my Cowboys fan friends wanting Jason Garrett to be the head coach. Oh, Wade Phillips is an idiot. He's got to go. And then finally he gets his way in there after the Cowboys got supremely just spanked at Lambeau Field by the Packers. I believe that was a game where Clay Matthews returned a fumble for a touchdown. It was just a brutal beating. Brutal beating.
Oh,
Black and blue. I mean, just embarrassing. Did I mention how embarrassing it was? It was super
oh.
embarrassing. If you were a Cowboys fan, yeah. So then Wade Phillips had to go, and they replaced him with Jason Garrett, and then Jason Garrett went 8-8 for the next 10 years. It was just
America's team.
beautiful. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And so then, right, they did that where they hired the guy that they thought was the brilliant mind of the league, and turns out he wasn't. He was the most vanilla mind you could find, and they had that on defense too. It was great, to the point where they drafted Taco Charlton over T.J. Watt
Oh my
because
goodness.
he was a better fit in their thing they had going on there. Their 8-8
Never
machine.
draft for fit. Never draft for a fit in your system.
We could just go on, man. They give it's material for days that they give us. But anyway, yeah.
Let's
So
zoom back
then,
in.
yeah, the zoom back in to well, we got to get rid of this Jason Garrett guy because he hasn't given us what we want. Let's go hire this other guy who's 10 years past his prime.
Oh my goodness. Well,
It's
I'll tell
like
you
they keep.
what, if you ask Jerry Jones, who's winning the Super Bowl, he has actually made comments that McCarthy wouldn't be in that position if he didn't believe that they can go out and win a championship with McCarthy. Apparently, the offense is going to run through Zeke this year. They're going to feed Zeke, and they got Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. So they're definitely going to be exciting to watch. But the fans, I know this is going to be broadcasted into the sound waves reaching many a fan,
into
hopefully,
the Twitter sphere.
into the Twitter sphere. So I'm being very mindful that what I can say will not be able to be taken back. But how bad are the Cowboys was the question you posed. I don't know they're going to be bad. I think I think that that division is the worst division his, just the last few years in football.
Oh yeah, it's been bad.
So it's all the moves that they're making collectively in that division is to get out of that, I think, bottom feeder type of mentality. The Commanders, I don't know what they got going on. I think they're still in litigation
They got
as a
Carson Wentz,
franchise.
man. They're going
Yeah.
places.
No, I'd say watch out for I'll take the Eagles. I'll take the Eagles in the NFC East as as who I believe will be the division champs there. I don't think it's the Cowboys.
Well, I'll contradict myself again and say that I do think that the Cowboys will stumble their way into winning the East. I don't think it'll be pretty, but I think they'll do it. They have a good defense. It's got holes, but Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, you still got Leighton Vander Esch out there. Maybe if he can keep his neck on straight, that their secondary is not as bad as it was. Although we still got to see who's going to be playing safety for them. They've got a good defense.
Is
They
it not
really do
haha?
have a good.
Did they move on
No, no, they moved
from
on from
Clinton?
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
they moved on from him. But yeah, so they've got a good defense. I don't know if it is a really complete defense, but Micah Parsons can hide a lot of imperfections on your defense.
Stud.
Um, Total stud. I mean,
Stud.
just you can't understate it,
Well,
right?
Penn State's just a linebacker you.
They really are. You got to give them credit.
Yeah.
You can't understate it. But they got a lot to hang with. You mentioned they're in a shitty division. I don't think that the Commanders can do anything with Carson Wentz at the helm. I don't think that the Eagles are what everybody thinks that they are. Rumor has it that they were in on trying to get Russell Wilson, which means they're not totally sold on Jalen Hurts, but now they're stuck with him, so they got to hype it up and all that. I'm not sold on the Eagles. I could be wrong. Not sold on them. Also not sold on the Giants. I think the Giants have some talent, but they always seem to fall apart or get injured. They just, I don't know. They haven't been any kind of threat for like the last 5 years. It's felt like.
Looks like
Um,
Saquon's healthy though.
yeah, for a minute. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's not to condemn the guy, but there are certain players you watch them, and it's like the way that they play is so violent that they can't help but injure themselves. Clay Matthews was that way. Clay
Yeah.
Matthews was so violent with the way he played. It made him great, but it was also what injured him. That's what kept him from playing longer.
Fight
So,
on, baby. Fight on. Old
fight
USC
on.
Trojan right there.
Hey, that's right. You sharing the alma mater with him there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Well, so all right, man. We can't have an episode one without some predictions. So we've made a few kind of passive predictions. Let's formalize some things. What? Let's start with the records. What are the Bears gonna have this year?
Oh man, I I think when we chatted about this, I kind of showed my hand when I told you I think they're going to be a top 10 draft pick this upcoming draft. Record, I don't know,
I mean,
seven and
top
10,
10.
7 and 10.
Okay. 7 and 10.
Yeah,
That's probably not top 10. That's probably like top. What? That's like what? The 13th pick, maybe 12th, something like that.
yeah. I mean, I just there's it's not a tough schedule. Last year's schedule was just unbelievably tough. This year it's not so tough. I think we're actually I don't want to be wrong here, but I think we're actually rotating in the NFC East. I think we're playing that division, and I think that there's going to be games that the Bears just come in well prepared and well coached, and they're going to put execution at a premium. right? And there's going to be accountability. I think Eberflus already came out and said that he's going to use the hit system. They're going to grade. They're going to grade every single play, every player on every single play. That is how you get performance to improve when they know that they're going to be watching film and be graded on every single rep and every single play. And I think that that's going to make players come out and ball. Right?
Well,
You definitely want to ball. And then
we'll
obviously the
see.
step, the intangible here is going to be the developmental step that Justin Fields takes in year two. I think that step alone will account for one or two wins where it's just Justin won the football game. So I wanna be level headed. I don't want to be that homer that's saying that, hey, we got new secondary and Justin's in year two, we're winning the division. I don't think so. But I think that the games will be much more competitive. I think the way that they lose games will be much less frustrating. I think they'll if they lose a game along the way, the games that they will lose will be good football games, right? Where I think we're with the Nagy era, they were losing games, and from the first quarter, I mean,
I can tell
you
you were
weren't even you
unhinged.
weren't even getting a first down until the third quarter.
Right.
I mean,
No,
those
it
were
was some pretty
bad
ugly football at some
games to
points,
watch,
man.
and I don't think that we'll be watching that this year. But I do want to be realistic, and that's why my prediction for the Bears, I'll go 6-11, 7-10. I'll kind of cheat there. I'll give you two, and I will say that they'll
Six
that,
to
that
seven wins.
with an under prediction that they will be top 12 in draft picks.
6 to 7 wins, top 12. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I could see that pretty well happening. Um, for the
Super
Packers,
Bowl, Super Bowl
Super
Packers
Bowl.
season.
I've got Matt LaFleur collecting his fourth season in a row with 13 wins, starting off his career as a head coach in the NFL history books, and with a beautiful Lombardi cherry on top. Um, it will be because of the defense. It will be because they finally uh, drove home and acquired the depth and talent that they have needed on defense. A lot of people want to, well, you want to point to Aaron Rodgers not having Devontae Adams or this and that. If you analyze the guy's career since they won the Super Bowl back in 2010, the thing that has kept him from winning a second trophy has been the defense. Time and time again, whether it's that he gets them down the field, we get it tied, we go to overtime, and he never gets back on the field. That happens certainly several times. There's been all sorts of things, but if there's anything, it's the defense. They've shored that up. They've probably got the best set of inside linebackers that I've ever seen in my lifetime. You're talking about the most talented set of linebackers they've had since Lombardi was on the sidelines. That's
Wow.
huge. And I think that there's probably not a lot of Packer fans or writers or people that would argue with me on that. That's from a talent perspective, right? And that's everybody's got to stay healthy. Quay Walker's got to turn into what we think he could turn into. But Devondre Campbell is an all pro linebacker. You haven't had that in Green Bay in a long time. I mean, even when they won the Super Bowl in 2010, you didn't have an all pro at inside linebacker. You had Clay Matthews, who's an edge linebacker, and you had some, great safeties in Nick Collins, but you didn't have what you have right now. And right now, I think they've got one of the best secondaries in the league, if not the best secondary. You've got the best linebackers they've had in my lifetime. You've got a D line with real depth. I mean, you got two first rounders on there. You got Jared Reed add to the group. You got, guys that were there last year. You know, great depth, great talent. The defense from top to bottom doesn't have a hole, assuming no injuries, right?
Super Bowl defense.
That's where I get my optimism. I don't have to go into anything about the offense. I could, don't need to. It's the defense.
Well, let's save some content for next episode when you can give us your offensive side of the ball Super Bowl prediction. Well,
There we
I'll
go.
say this. So if that's the prediction, then I want to amend my prediction and say that Bears will beat the Super Bowl champion Packers in the regular season. I firmly believe that at Hallis Hall, the comments of ownership are going to be very much presented to the team in a way to get them ready to play a football game. And I do think that, and I said this to you already, that the Bears will steal one. They'll steal one because they on paper shouldn't beat Green Bay this year. I don't believe, but they will steal one from Aaron Rodgers. My personal opinion is that it is on the home field. I believe that protecting home field will be a point of emphasis this year. And I believe that they will take that game from Green Bay in the umbrella prediction of where I have the Bears this season. But I just feel that this season's rivalry will be special because of that reason. I think the Bears steal one from Green Bay this year.
Well, I don't agree, but I will say that that has been what has made the rivalry special is even when, I remember when there were some bad seasons for the Packers and the Bears were good and the Packers still stole one, right? Or vice versa, where the Packers are riding high, the Bears are fighting, kind of in the lower half of the division, and they steal one. The games are always tight, like with the exception of a few of those Cutler games. Man, those were ugly. Um, but no, I can't say that you're crazy for predicting that. I could certainly see that happening. I don't think it will happen. I think that Aaron Rodgers sweeps the division again, doesn't throw a pick to anybody in the NFC North for a second straight year. You guys are going to have to go 2 full seasons without even getting an interception off of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Um, that's
Well,
my
we're gonna
prediction.
spend the last segment on hot takes because I think that we're gonna have some turnovers in the OG rivalry this year.
I
There,
know. Yeah, no, we'll
yeah,
pick plenty of Justin
yeah.
Fields. There'll be probably 3 or 4 interceptions a game from him.
We're definitely gonna keep coming in week out and try to give you level-headed analysis from a fan's perspective. I would say pretty much we're homers through and through.
Homers.
At the end of the day, so let's not get it twisted. Don't think you're getting partial takes here. We try to keep them level-headed. But at the end of the day, we're just fans of our teams. And with that being said, what are your thoughts on this episode, sir?
Hey, I had a blast, and I can't wait for us to keep going. I know this thing's gonna evolve.
Yeah.
Um, I want to get like a cool backdrop or something. Put like a
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? I think it's one of those projects. It's a passion project. We're putting our heart and soul into just
yes.
bringing these conversations to life. We don't agree on pretty much anything. We don't agree on pretty much anything, but great conversation, great outlook on this season. I wanted to ask you what you got there on the mic. Feel better today.
Well, we're doing this because we should all feel better today, right? So, this podcast will be brought to you guys by Life Leaf Remedies. Life Leaf Remedies wants you to feel better today. Check us out at lifeleafremedies.com. And we'll talk more about that as we go too. But we don't disagree on everything. I think we both very much agree on natural remedies and some of very specific varieties for sure. But no, that's something that I'm passionate about. I know you're passionate about. We'll probably talk a little bit more about it throughout our journey. But hopefully we get a weekly dose of some Packers Bears banter. As I mentioned before, legendary Homer takes, right? When we drift into the off season, we'll have speculation on top of speculation. We'll talk about the rumors, and all of that fun stuff, draft analysis, all that kind of stuff. So let's just have fun with this thing, man, and pick on each
Beautiful.
other a little bit.
Yeah, why not? Why not? It definitely breaks up the autonomy or monotony of every single day, day in and day out. I'm excited. I do know every time anybody comes to me with a sleep question, I get those often. Hey, I'm having
Hey,
trouble sleeping, or hey, I'm having trouble getting to bed or staying asleep at night. I always point them to the gummy, the sleep gummy that Life Leaf Natural Remedy has. That is a favorite of mine. Look at that! Look at that right there. Let's go. That little sucker is it's a godsend when it comes to getting to bed and getting a good bedtime routine in. So just wanted to make sure I communicate that out to anybody who's out there having some sleep problems. With that being said, sir, let's get some feedback from anybody out there on the Twitterverse. I know we had a Twitter poll come down to the wire at a 52-48 percent edge to Green Bay. I hate to say it, but we gave the people ample time to get their votes in. So I think what we should do is just maybe have a Twitter poll week in and week out, just see how they go, or even get feedback of the episode, what you guys would like us to tackle, or what you would like to hear from this team, and then also any feedback on how we can get better. I think is important too, because we're
for
just,
sure.
like I said, just two fans just trying to bring these conversations to life.
No, 100% agree, man. Looking forward to the feedback. Definitely let us know where we need to attack more topics. Is there a specific topic? I think there's a tipping point between the win percentage in the rivalry, or is it total wins or something coming up? I think that we got to attack on next week's. So yeah,
It's total wins. The
total
Bears are, I
wins.
think, are one or two wins, franchise wins
Okay.
overall. The rivalry itself has been skewed with the last decade,
Skewed.
yeah, or so. But we're hoping that the future is gonna lean back into the Bears' favor in that win column.
We might have to have like a tracker in the background or something to see
No, we don't
which
need a
we
tracker.
track
No,
wins.
don't,
Oh,
no need to track them quite yet. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. Maybe a couple winning seasons of Justin Fields under the belt. Well, that tracker might not look as bad.
then we'll get back
Yeah,
into it. Okay, I
yeah.
got you.
Want to get a quick apology to Minnesota fans, Dallas fans. Chime in. Let's see what you guys have to say, and we'll go from there.
No apologies from me. He speaks for himself. You guys can come at me on Twitter full force. Bring it on. You
Bring
guys
it. All right.
suck.
All
I'm
right. All
kidding. All
right.
love.
He's not kidding at all.
I'm kidding.
He's kidding. He's kidding. All right. Well, with that being said, I'll give you guys a go Bears and bear down.
Go pack, go.
All right. Have a good one.